Hey everybody, happy Friday to you. Today we are doing something a little different. We are talking about your relationship with the media. And if you don't have one, you need to start working on those relationships, especially if you are in the healthcare industry, because you are such a resource of information. And it's time to be a thought leader in your space. And you do that by utilizing the free resources that are available to you in the media. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Berto. I'm a former television news anchor, and now I teach executives, specifically in the healthcare industry, how to look good and sound good on camera. And today we're going to be talking with a friend of mine who I feel good about calling him a friend now. We just actually met a couple of weeks ago. I was a guest on his podcast. He is a pharmacist, and through our conversations, he was sharing with me how he utilizes the media as a resource for his marketing skills. His name is Mike Koelzer, and I'm going to show you a clip of that podcast. So you're going to see his beautiful face with the beautiful title of his podcast for about 7 minutes on the screen here. It's not going to be visually appealing, but don't lose the message. Make sure you're listening to his words, because the conversation we have about how to create media relations in your local television market area is priceless. So here we go. I'm going to do this for the first time, so bear with me if this doesn't work. But here is Mike Koelzer and the conversation we had on his podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Besides being fun and also being good for business, is one of my thoughts has always been that I've had the times where reporters have come in and tried to shove the microphone in your face about either pricing or something. And how do you, in a soundbite, get across something like PBMs owning discount cards and forcing you to a gag clause and all that kind of stuff? So you're kind of at their mercy. So one of the reasons that I've tried to have a relationship with the news and tried to be a source for them is so they don't bite the hand that feeds them, me being the hand, I guess, that occasionally gives them stories, or I'm in there for their quick soundbite or something like that, that they'll know that if they come with any kind of those stories, that they may not have access to me so much in the future. Is that a good plan?
Absolutely. It's a great strategy to have a relationship with a health reporter who may need to come and talk to you about flu immunizations. I mean, that's not going to get controversial. But if you start talking about new policy changes that legislation is considering, that could become confrontational depending on your ideology. So I think that that's a great strategy. I think that it's an underused strategy for many independent pharmacists. I think that the idea of getting yourself out there as a thought leader in this capacity, they don't realize that it is free to be a part of the news, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't get paid for those appearances, and and likewise, you do not have to pay them to have your voice heard. So it is a very good avenue to be considered a thought leader in your space. I have done many trainings with people who work on Capitol Hill for healthcare companies. And what they're trying to do is be able to do exactly what you just said, of how do you, in 30 seconds or less, and if you're doing a newscast, it has to be 10 seconds or less, how do you clearly, concisely, and conversationally, how do you get that idea across about PBMs, about everything that's going on regarding the changes of what is in store for Americans? It's hard to understand. So the answer to that is prep. So you need to have, and I'm not saying a canned response by any means, but you need to have a skeleton of what your message is if you were to be asked that on the steps of any legislative body. I mean, literally, I was brought in one time to train their head of government affairs and her team on what to do if reporters were outside of a boardroom or whatever, and as soon as they exited, if a camera was thrown in their face with a microphone asking questions. That was the premise of the session, and it's something that you really do need to be ready for.
being a source for the local news is really a nice opening that pharmacists have, because there's a few reasons. One is that when the news wants a story, first of all, from the news side, I think they want something that's timely, and so they want to be able to talk to someone maybe in an hour or two versus a day or two. They usually want something that's local. They want to say, this is Mike from Grand Rapids versus, Joe from wherever. Then they have very slim pickings on who they can use on the news. A few reasons. One is the average pharmacist probably is busy and doesn't have the time they think for it. Two, is they don't trust the news reporter. Three would be that, sort of by definition, the pharmacist may not enjoy the news because we've talked about the 100% certainty and so on. They certainly don't get 100% certainty being on the news. I found it very easy, especially being a community pharmacist owning my own store, very, very easy to get on the news if desired.
There is a 100% guaranteed sweet spot for individuals like yourself that are pharmacy owners and pharmacists who do not have to report to anybody else. So I'm going to take it from the reporter perspective. I already know if I have a story that I need to develop as a day turn, so I get the story at 9:30 and it needs to be a part of the noon, the 4, the 5, the 6 p.m. newscasts. I do not have time to go around in circles and to finally end up in a PR department at CVS, Rite Aid, insert chain pharmacy here. I am immediately looking for an independent pharmacist, a community pharmacist that owns their own shop, that can speak to me on camera, not in 3 hours, not in 2 hours, maybe in the next 15 minutes. So you absolutely have geared in on something that is super useful as a marketing tool, as an advertising tool for yourself, by being that thought leader and the go-to. Because once you're the go-to in a newsroom, I'll give you some inside juice here. Here's what happens in the newsroom. When you are a guest on a newscast, or if you are in a taped interview, which we would call a field interview, after the newscast, in our post-production meeting, literally it goes like this. The anchors are in that meeting, the executive producer of the show, the show producer, the writers, everybody who is involved, the editors, sometimes the photographers. We all go around the table and we say, what'd you think? Did Mike do well? Did he talk in sound bites? Engaging? What do you think? You like him? Yes. Do you like him? Yes. Do you like him? No. Do you like him? Yes. Literally, you get voted on around the table. And if you have enough yeses, you go in the yes pile. And that yes pile gives you access for interviews for years to come. You go into a special folder that says, hey, Mike is a pharmacist local. He doesn't have to deal with any PR from chain pharmacy. Go to him with any healthcare question that you have when it comes to flu season, et cetera, et cetera. You go into a list that sits at the assignment desk, and you are, from that point on, the go-to person. Conversely, if you do not do well and you get more no's in that meeting than yeses, you will never be asked back again. And I think after going through that experience on the broadcast side, it made me even more excited about the responsibility to teach people how to do a news interview, because it really is that simple. It's a yes or it's a no, and you only get one shot. What do you guys think about that inside look of what happens after somebody is on a newscast? That insight of, here in the editorial meeting, it's a yes, it's a no. And if you get the yes, you're golden. And if you get the no, it is hard to come back from that. So my question for you today is, are you utilizing media relations as a part of your marketing strategy, especially if you are an independent pharmacy owner, or if, again, you are a healthcare leader in your local market? And if you are, how are you getting the attention of the health reporters, the booking producers for different interview shows? How are you getting their attention? Because I would love to share the ways that I had the best experiences as a journalist and other ways that really turned me off. We are going to be talking to Mike again in the upcoming weeks here about specifically how to craft certain pitches, and if it's not you, because I know that you are bombarded with so many duties already and responsibilities just to keep your shop up and running and to fulfill all the prescriptions that you have accurately. And if it's not you, how do you train your marketing people to make sure that they are utilizing media relations to the best of their ability? If you have any questions to have as a part of that conversation that's going to be live in the next 2 weeks, please feel free to drop them in here in one of the comments sections, or you could go ahead and email me. I know it is short and sweet today, but everybody is sick in this house, and it's time to make sure that we all get healthy. So I have to cut it short, but it was great being with you. I'm glad that we were able to connect this week despite people being sick. But hopefully you are doing well on your end. And again, jot down any questions you have when it comes to media relations for your thought leadership programs and your marketing strategies for your independent pharmacy positions, or again, healthcare leaders in your local space. All right, guys, www.michelleberto.com to contact me. I always love chatting with you guys. 732-616-6019. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.